We're back in the tackle room, and today we're talking about 5 baits that you can use that always seem to get the job done whenever things get a little tough on the water. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And as summertime rolls around, that water gets warm, it seems like that bite can just disappear. Right now, for a lot of anglers, for a lot of the country, can be going into the hardest part of the fishing season, right? As the summertime approaches, it just seems like those fish get lockjaw and they get clamped shut, which is crazy, right? I mean, those fish are active. You would think that they would be wanting to feed more and more, but oftentimes that just isn't the case. If you're out there in the middle of the day, well, it can be a no man's land. You can be searching for hours. You could see schools of fish on your electronics, but they just don't want to bite. Well, there are ways around that. Obviously, the bite is going to slow down a little bit. If you're looking for a 50 fish day, well, unless you're on some sort of miraculous pattern or a special time, such as a bluegill or a shad spawn, and you happen to time it exactly right, I don't think that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that you can't get quality bites and that you can't get numbers. Honestly, I've been doing really well, but what I've had to do is slow way down. You guys have heard me talk about it over and over and over again. Right now is when I'm fishing finesse. Now, in the fall, I'll speed things up. In the winter, I might slow things down, but I'm still not essentially at the slowest pace that I am, like I am right now. I mean, obviously, our waters don't get that cold in the wintertime. But even then, I'm not fishing as slowly as I am now. I am dead sticking to the point of leaving that bait a minute and a half, just to see if I can get a fish interested. And it's working. A lot of the times it's working. So what are the baits that I'm throwing? What are some of the things that I'm using to get those fish convinced, to get them turned on and have them bite? Well, quite honestly, these 5 baits are not anything that are new to the channel. They're things that you've seen me use consistently. These are the things that I throw that I'm getting quite a bit of production with. These are the ones that I'm getting quality bites and numbers as best as I can. When I go out to the lake, if I get, 5 to 7 fish in a couple hours, I consider myself lucky. But there are days when I can go out, and if I can get 2 or 3 fish, then I'm really lucky that day. So what are they? Well, first up, this is the tail spinner, right? But this is a different version of the tail spinner. This one has been pared way down. You see that I've cut and just used the back half of that stick bait right there. That's all I'm using. I've got from the egg sac cut down, and I'm using a 1/0 EWG hook, the same thing that I would use for a Waco rig, which is another presentation. I know I've been talking to death, but I'm going to save you guys that one. It's not going to make an appearance in this video. But this little guy right here, since I started cutting these down, my hookup ratio has gone way up. The problem with them before is when I was using a whole stick bait, I would get where the fish would just bite that spinner. And I would hook set and I would reel it in, and they would just open their mouth and it would just pop out. So I decided I was going to start cutting the worms in half. And now I haven't lost a single fish. I've been able to get those fish that were more reluctant, the ones that didn't want to bite, I've been able to get them to commit, and commit hard. Now another bait that I've been using, that I've had quite a bit of success on, is this guy right here. And nothing fancy, there is no secret here. This is just a weightless fluke style bait, a weightless soft jerk bait. This is on a 4/0 EWG. This is one of those KVD must-add bait keeper hooks. And if you haven't used one of these, I'm telling you what, these things are awesome. They've got a little peg right here, a little, I guess it's a piece of painted lead or whatnot, but either way, it keeps that bait held in place, and it doesn't blow out your warm or your soft plastic, so you don't use as many of them, and they stay in place, throughout the day, which I really like because I skip underbrush a lot, and I need that. Otherwise, that bait will slide off of there all the time, and it's just annoying. It's aggravating. So check these hooks out if you haven't. But they work really well, obviously, on something like a weightless Texas rig, which works well for the fluke. I mean, obviously, you can put a worm on here, you can put a crawl on here, but a weightless fluke, especially around timber, shade lines that have timber sticking out, that's where I've been using this. And I just let it fall, and then I'll just pop it up a little bit and I'll let it fall again. Obviously, I'm letting it dead stick for quite a while in between times that I'm working it. And I've caught some really nice fish on this. So this is going to be another one that I go to because it mimics a real shad, really well. It mimics a dying or distressed shad in the best way, or whatever type of small bait fish you have on your fishery, a minnow or a small sunfish. So this is another presentation that if you're having trouble getting bites, try working one of these, and I bet you can eke out a few extra bites.
You can fish You can fish faster, a little faster anyway. But yeah, you can see that bank how it does like that. So that's usually a pretty good. It's usually that would be the best place to fish, I would think, right along it, because that's almost like a bluff wall. Because that's what those fish are going to like. Or is that? Oh yeah, that's got a nice fall rate to it now. Cloud cover doesn't hurt my feelings any, I know that. There we go, I got him. I saw the line swimming away. He's a little bitty guy. Yeah, that is a little largemouth bass, and I was. Yeah, that was a Nako rig with a June bug worm, and he choked it. I don't know if he's been caught before. All right, little dude, right at a pound. Yeah, he's had a fight with something else before. He's been bit, chewed up. Looks like maybe the gator went after him. But there you are. All right, thanks, little dude. He'll be all right. He will live. We like that.
Now, next up is going to be, just a wacky rig, right? Or a Nako rig. That has been just killer for me. They work great for flipping and skipping under flooded brush, which is what I use them for most of the time. If you have the patience to let them sink down in deeper water, you can use them over flooded brush piles or flooded timber, but you're going to have to let them sink, let them soak, and do their job. And I'll be honest, nothing is more productive right now on any fishery in the country than a weightless wacky rig. A Nako rig, with a 1/32 or 1/16 ounce nail weight, which is, pretty much as heavy as I'm going to go is 1/16 ounce. That is still going to be exceptionally productive. I mean, we were at a fishery just today where the bite was exceptionally hard. It was bluebird skies. It was 95 degrees out. There was barely any wind, and we really had to work for those bites. But with a Nako rig and a wacky rig, we were able to eke out a few bites. So try these, nice and slow around vegetation, along shade lines, around timber. I bet you get a few more bites. Next up is kind of an unexpected, a little bit of a twist. But this is something, if I actually do have the chance to work something a little bit faster. Say I'm at the side of the dam and I see, a bunch of riprap and I want to throw a crankbait down there. Well, what I'm throwing is something like this. And this is just a little tail spinner crankbait. This is the H2O Express version, but it's a Little George clone. You remember the old man's Little Georges? This little guy is absolutely perfect. Uh, I can get some really aggressive strikes with this thing. And essentially, I'm cranking and ripping, cranking and ripping. I'm not doing a steady retrieve. I'll let it fall down, and then I'll rip it up. Give it a couple cranks, let it fall down, and then rip it up, and then give it a couple of cranks. And that's how I've been getting some really good strikes. And, these things are, I don't know, like $4 at Academy if you can't find the actual man's Little George, which is the one that I suggest. But this little half-ounce dude right here, and then I also have some quarter-ounce ones. Those things are really, really good if you're looking for a smaller presentation that moves quickly, that you can cast a mile. That's what these excel at. I can cast these things a country Mississippi mile. But another thing is that spinner, it gives me a little bit of extra thump, and I'm not burning it. I'm not straight cranking it. So I'm getting some extra added thump out of it the way that I'm ripping it. Almost like I'm ripping a jig, ripping it up, a couple of cranks, letting it settle down. And that's been the ticket for me, something small, something with a little bit of flash to it. And these things are just getting hammered. Now, last up is a tried and true trooper on this channel, and that is the good old Bitsy Bug Jig. I've been fishing these along pondweed and along lily pads right on the outside edge of that vegetation is where I've been dropping these in. If I can find a hole, gaps in that vegetation that are on the outside edge, I drop this in, and I'm telling you what, it's just been getting hammered. I've got a little black, salty super chunk zoom trailer on this thing, one of these, and that's just been what I've been able to get some really good aggressive strikes out of. Now, it's not big, but these pared down sizes, this is exactly what those bass are looking for. And not even just the small bass. I'm catching 2 and 3 pound fish and bigger on baits this size. But this is only one of the ways that I'm fishing the Bitsy Bug. You guys, if you're longtime viewers of the channel, you already know where I'm going with this, right? I mean, don't count this out. The wacky jig shines. The stupid rig shines at this time of year. If you're looking for a faster fall rate from that wacky rig, and if you're looking to fish it in flooded brush and timber and the gnarly stuff, something like this works exceptionally well. I've caught so many fish on this thing, over the years. It's one of my favorite confidence presentations, especially as we go into the hotter months. It's just a Bitsy Bug jig that I've taken the skirt of, and I've wacky rigged a stick bait, a Yum Dinger, I think this is, that's on here. And I used this today, and I was able to catch one. And I worked so hard for that bite, but it ended up being a really good bite. So this, again, came through. I don't think anything else would have gotten that bite, but this is exactly what the doctor ordered. If you're not throwing something like this, these are not expensive. None of the things that I'm telling you about, none of these baits are expensive. These are baits that you can go out and get a pack of flukes for $4 or $5, right? A Bitsy Bug jig, what are they, $3, $4, depending on where you get them. A pack of Yum Dingers, right? $3, $4. A lot of this stuff is under $5, and that's very, very affordable, especially since money's tight for a lot of us. Well, and the more money that we can save on baits, well, that's just a few more trips that we can end up taking to the lake. And that's the best part of fishing is, well, going fishing. So there you have it. There's 5 baits, 5 presentations that really work for me when the weather gets hot, that water gets warm, and that bite starts to cool way off. And we really have to work for each and every fish. But if you're willing to put in the effort and you're willing to slow things down. You'll end up catching a lot more fish than you thought you ever could. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.